Today we're interviewing Leah, who's a 2,000-year-old mummy. While she was a relatively younger mummy, life was quite different 2,000 years ago as it is today. So I thought we'd ask you, Leah, what is your opinion on our current lifestyle in the 21st century?
Well, the first thing I noticed is that men don't find me attractive anymore. I don't know why. I was the most beautiful woman in Egypt. What happened?
Hey guys, this is part 2 of my mummy makeup. This is the application of the prosthetics and the painting. There is a part 1 where I go over how I make the prosthetics. I haven't made my own prosthetics or done a makeup from scratch like this in about a year and a half. So it was really fun trying to push myself again and make something the best quality. And hopefully you guys can see how much effort I put into it, and I hope you enjoy watching the transformation. I've also got my amazing friend Jax here helping me with the application, so you will occasionally see her hands as well as my own. I'm applying the prosthetics on my friend Leah, so we're starting with a clean face, and I'm applying some Prosaide adhesive over her lips and on the back of the teeth prosthetic. Once the Prosaide has dried clear, I'm going to place the lower half of the prosthetic onto Leah's lower lip and chin, and then make sure all of the edges are properly glued down. Next, I dissolve away the cap plastic edges using a tiny bit of acetone. Then I apply Prosaide adhesive on the top lip and the back of that prosthetic, wait for it to dry fully, and then glue that down in place. I blend out those cap plastic edges as well, and now I'm going to put some more Prosaide adhesive around the outside to lay over our rotted away cheek, chin, and lip prosthetic. I adhere that down in segments, and then I make sure all the edges are properly glued down as well. Next, I blend away the cap plastic edges, and now I'm going to move on to the eye prosthetics. For the eye area, I start by adhering down the eyebrow to make sure it's flat against the skin, and then I bring the glue a little bit down over the brow bone, but not on top of the upper eyelid. I bring it down the side of the nose and underneath the eye, but not on the lower eyelid either. I put the eye prosthetic in place and make sure all the edges are properly glued down as well, and then blend out the cap plastic edges. I repeat those same steps for the right eye as well. Next, I apply some Prosaide adhesive over the bridge of the nose, and I glue down and blend out the little nose ridge prosthetic. Now we're going to apply a couple of rotted skin prosthetics, one on the forehead and one on the cheek. This has Prosaide adhesive on the back of it, and it's also being blended out with a little bit of acetone. We're also going to apply a large rotted away piece on the neck. Now I'm going to put a little layer of creamy Prosaide around the edges of all the prosthetics using a little bit of a red stipple sponge. This helps to seal off the edges to make sure they don't lift, that the color applies more evenly, and also to make sure the edges look more flawless underneath the paint job. Once that creamy Prosaide layer has dried, I'm going to put some Bluebird mattifying sealer over it. I've mixed this mattifier with about 50% Isopropyl Alcohol just to thin it out, and this is going to take away the shine and the stickiness of that Prosaide. Now I'm going to use some European body art alcohol activated colors. I'm using a stipple brush to pat that onto the areas of the prosthetic which are lighter than Leah's skin tone. I'm going to pat on a warm medium skin tone closer to Leah's base over the prosthetics. Now I'm going to airbrush on a color a little bit lighter than Leah's skin tone over the whole face and the back of her hands. This will make everything look a little bit more unified, and it will also bring her skin color closer to the mummy reference image that I'm using for the coloring. I've mixed up a custom brown color using some colors from the Necromania palette and from the Grunge palette, and I'm painting this into the eye sockets to deepen them a little bit. Now I want to apply that cobwebby pattern over the top of the prosthetics, and to do that I'm going to use some cap plastic sheets that I made when I was making the prosthetics. So to get that patterning in the cap plastic, I'm going to paint a little bit of acetone over my table and then stick that cap plastic sheet onto it so it melts it down a tiny bit and so that it's gripped to the table. And this just makes it easier to get those authentic looking holes in the cap plastic. I give it a minute to dry, and then I start rubbing the cap plastic with my fingers, and this starts breaking it up and giving it those cobwebby patterns. Now I'm going to gently peel it off the table, and we're going to apply that to Leah's face. I'm going to put little dots of Prosaide across Leah's face so it has some little anchor or glue points down, and then put some of the cap plastic sheet over one of the eyes. Then I'm going to use acetone to dissolve away the edges of that cap plastic so that it has nice edges and so that it looks like it's part of her face. After I've applied those two sheets, I just go around dissolving any areas that look a little bit too built up still. And I'm also going to apply a little bit of the cap plastic down onto her neck as well. I'm going to use a very transparent wash of a slightly yellow warmy skin tone over the whole face using a fan brush. This is to start breaking up the base color. Now Jax is going to start painting on the gum color. This is a purplish gum color based on our reference image of a real mummy. So she starts with a mid-tone purple and then she's darkening the color around the roots of each tooth. This gives us a really nice contrast and it helps it to pop out from the rest of the face. Now I'm going over the face with my fan brush again, this time with more of a rusty orange color, just in a couple of places. I also do a layer of this gross greeny brown vile bile color from the Necromania palette. Now I've got some really transparent thinned out Darth Moss color from the Necromania palette, and I'm going around and darkening areas across the face, around the open wounds and the rot, and around the eyes. Now I've mixed up a custom color which has some of the darker purple tones from the EDA palettes and some browns mixed in together, and I'm using this to really make a contrasting dark eye area. And I'm painting it in between the layers of the cap plastic, but I'm also putting a really transparent layer on top of the cap plastic so that hollowed out eye area does come through and read on the camera. I'm also bringing that color out away from the eyes into other little rotted spots on the face. And just bringing it anywhere that I think needs a bit more darkness or a bit more contrast or just a breakup color to make it look a little bit more interesting. So I'm using my fan brush now to do just that, to bring it across the rest of the face, and then using a tissue to blot it back if I put down too much color. I'm also going in with a clean cotton tip with a little bit of isopropyl alcohol to take back any color that I think has been put on too heavily or too dark. Now I'm bringing that darker color back in around the bottom half of the face so that it all looks homogeneous. Now I've got my cut off chip brush, so I'm going to spatter a layer of this kind of like a light freckling of dark color over the rest of the face. And then I decide I want it to be a little bit heavier, so I'm going in with a brush as well and painting on some more rotted bits over this blank side of the face. I grabbed a setting powder which had a light flesh tone to it, and I put this through Leah's hair to make her hair look dusty. And now we're going to put some bandages around her hair and her neck. We have stained these bandages with tea and fake dirt, although it doesn't really show up that much on camera. And I've also taken some scissors and some tools to it just to really try and break the fibers apart and make it look really worn down. But I don't have a lot of experience in fabrication, so the whole time I'm kind of going, how do I make this fabric do what I want? I'm not a costumer, I don't know what I'm doing. So I kept snipping into little bits of the bandage, trying to break it down even more because it kept looking too neat and too new. And once I had finished fluffing around with the bandages, Jax came in and messed up Leah's hair a little bit so it wasn't so in place. And this is our finished, crusty, old, cobwebby mummy makeup.
Kiana, I've made you lunch today.
Leah, wrong kind of mummy, wrong mummy.
To remove this makeup, I'm using a foundation brush and European Body Arts moisturizing remover, and I start from the top, working that remover underneath the edges of the prosthetic until all of the prosthetic has come away from the skin. And then I usually go back over with some cotton pads to remove any glue residue that's left on the skin. If you're using Prosaide Adhesive, there's usually quite a bit. And then I get some hot steamy towels and I let the steam work into the skin to help get off any leftover remover and any leftover adhesive. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this. If you have any questions, please hit me up in the comments below. And many thanks to the patrons who have supported me, which have enabled me to be able to make this video because my camera died. And without their contributions, I wouldn't have been able to afford to fix it and to film this. So you guys are absolute legends. I'll link my Patreon in the description in case you want to help me make these tutorials. And I'll be back soon with a new video. Alright guys, take care.